Hi everyone, welcome back to Gondomar S.C in the 23-24 season. Last season, or last episode, we were promoted from the Championship, so now we're in the Liga 3 in Portugal in the North Group. Before I go into the league table, you can see we've played a few games, but I'll go through some housekeeping stuff that I forgot to go through in the last episode. So what I didn't go through is the progress of our B team. So last season, um, we finished. Oh, the structure's changed. Last season we finished mid-table in Group B. Decent performance, 35 points, nowhere near the relegation zone, but also nowhere near promotion. But that wasn't really a key focus for us. And what else I didn't go through was the youth intake. So last year we had a really, really good youth intake, as you can see from the potential here. Given we're in the third division, or we were in the fourth, the potential bars are always taken with a bit of a grain of salt. But you can see here we've got a decent crop of young players coming through. Notably, Hey Jixing, not sure if I pronounced that right, but this guy looks like a beast. Defensive midfielder, Chinese, as I said in the last episode. We're getting quite a few Chinese regens come through the youth team. Looks like he could be either a ball-winning midfielder or a defensive, a deep-lying playmaker. But he looks like he's going to be playing for us in that DM role. Looking at his mentals, he's got really good decision-making, teamwork, and work rate. But his everything else needs to come along. So I'll be training him in that deep-lying playmaker role to defend, because that's a key role in our tactic. So that's going to be where he hopefully plays in 4 or 5 seasons and is killing it for us. Otherwise, we've got a whole bunch of other really good young players, which I won't go into too much detail, but they look really good. One of which is Paulo Queiroz, who, although he can play striker, looks like he'll be more of an out-and-out winger. Can dribble, good dribbling, first touch, passing, etc., but he can't cross or finish. So, I mean, that really limits him, but he looks like he's going to be a really good player for us, and he's going to be sitting on the bench for us in the first team while getting quite a few minutes in the B team. So that now that that's out the way, I'll go through some of the transfers that we got in the preseason. So here are all the players that joined us on freeze, but there's 2 players here which I didn't show in the previous episode, the Joaos. So Joao Ventura, 29-year-old right winger, inside forward, but we play with wings, so he'll be playing on the left. Looks like a really good player for this division. If I go to the reports, the scouts and my assistant coach seem to think that he's a good player for this division. And if I go for his stats last season, 7.3 average rating in the championship. So hopefully he'll do a really good job for us. We've got him on a 3-year contract at 29, so we're getting him in his peak years. The other key free transfer here on the 1st of July was João Victor. Now this guy's a 30-year-old Brazilian striker. Given that Igor, the Beast, retired, we needed a new guy to lead the front line. This guy looks like he's going to be really good for us. Target forward, but we play with an advanced forward. But even if you go with that role, he just looks like a really good striker that's going to score a lot of goals. Bringing other players in isn't his specialty, but I mean, I think he'll do a job just fine. We've got him on 29 a year again on another 3-year contract. Looking at his history, he scored 11 goals in 28 appearances in Liga 3. He looks better than that. We'll see how he goes this year. But, I mean, we've got him sitting at 4 stars, so he's basically the best player in our squad, according to the scouts. Other transfers that we made, we were able to get Luis Gustavo, the guy that played a right back that played for us last season, on a free transfer, like a free £0 transfer from Aruca in the first division. We signed we signed 3 key players. First of which is Joel Pereira. Goalkeeper was a position that we have Vanderlan, who's a decent player, but this guy came up and he's an ex-Man U prospect, came up for us. We had the ability to sign him on a relatively good deal, so we've done so. 35k on a 4-year deal, not too bad. However, he does have a really, really low minimum fee release clause. So, I mean, the 4-year deal's a bit misleading. He may leave in the future on that minimum deal if we can't get another one across, but he looks like he's going to do a really, really good job for us. And you can see in his 2 games already, he's got a 7.5 average rating. So hopefully we can keep him for a season or 2 before he leaves. Another key transfer is Sergio Conceição. So this name might be familiar to players or some of you that have played in Portugal before, because he's got 3 brothers, all of which are prominent players in Portugal. And his father is the head coach of Porto. So part of the Conceição dynasty in Portugal. Right back, beast. His report says really good for Liga 2. So again, another player who we're looking to keep long term. 44k on a 3-year deal. He does have another one with a minimum fee release clause that's relatively low compared to his ability, but again, he can play anywhere along this right side. Probably looking at being our right back, given we have a lot of options up front. So I mean, he looks like a really, really, really good player. Our final key transfer is Kuka. 32 years old, so right at the end of his career. Paying a lot of money for him over a 2-year deal, but this guy just looks like he's a really good defensive midfielder. We're going to play him in that ball-winning midfielder role that we have. Sorry, not the ball-winning midfielder. We're going to play him as a halfback. Really good stats here for him in that role. He is a little bit deficient in heading, but we'll deal with that. But he looks like he's going to be a really good player with us. He is on a very large deal for us compared to all the other players, but not really concerned about that. Apart from that, everything else is just building depth. The only other transfer here that's worth mentioning is Yanni Quintero, a player that we're getting a loan from a Brazilian club. He's on 81,000 a year over there, but luckily for us, we're paying him nothing. Looks like more of a youth prospect, but we've got him in for depth. Really good technicals and physicals. Mentals, not all there just yet, but he's got good values in good key areas. He can play deep lying playmaker. He'll be decent there, but he'll also play in that halfback role for us. Good technicals anywhere you look for a defensive midfielder, so he'll be a depth role. We've got him on loan as a fringe player, so won't be expecting too much football. Tactics-wise, we haven't changed anything from last season, but this is how we're going to line up. Ventura, I think he's just in there. We'll play Conceição as our right back. Oh, we've got Angelo Oliveira's got a season-starting injury, so this is probably how we'll line up for the first month or so. Once Oliveira comes back, he'll just slot in there, and we'll play Conceição at right back. But evidently, they're both injured. Conceição's just got a 2-week injury, so he'll be okay there. Bench, the team just is looking good. We've got a lot of 3, 4-star players in our starting roles, and some decent players to come off the bench in Gonçalo, Yanni, and Dennis Martins. So we've got good players to bring on. Our transfer budget, we've got a lot of payroll left. Like, that is a lot in this grade. So we'll be looking to make improvements during the season, all the way up until January, because of the transfer window is open for free players. So we'll be looking to make a lot of good improvements there heading into the rest of the season. So how this actually works is you play everyone twice, and then after that the league splits into 2 groups. So top 4 go into a promotion group, and the bottom 8 teams are in the relegation group. And how that stacks up is the promotion group. The top team is promoted, and then the team in second. So it splits into, you get 2 promotion groups because there's 8 teams. Top team from each group is promoted. The second team enters into like a multi-tiered promotion relegation playoff. So you play one game against the second place of the other group, and then you play one game against the equivalent team in League Two. So this team will play the winner of whoever comes second in each of those groups, right? And then if you're in the relegation playoffs, which hopefully we aren't, it splits. It's actually pretty brutal. It splits into 4 groups of 4, and then the bottom team is relegated. So 4 teams are relegated, and 3 go up. Where we're expected to come, we're actually rated pretty well. I think this is a bit of a sorting league. A lot of teams in here with similar abilities to the championship. They just not a lot of them go down, and there's a lot of movement between this tier and the 4th tier. So we're expected to come 6th. So I guess the game rates us well enough to get into the top 4 spots. So we'll be aiming there. But evidently it's our first year up. I'm not too concerned as long as we don't get relegated. How can I get back? So key players, we don't have anyone here, unfortunately. If I scroll down, it rates Sergio Conceição and João Victor as our 2 best players, which I would agree with that. Finances wise, not looking too good. $1 million in debt is not a good place to be in your first year of Liga 3. We don't get a lot of income, as you can see last season. Yeah, the most was in sponsorship, TV revenue. Actually, we got 140k in TV revenue from the championship, but we do get a lot more from Liga 3, so that'll be filling our coffers with money. Expenditure-wise, the staff salaries are killing us. If I go here, yeah, a lot of coaches on a lot of money, so hopefully at the end of the season we'll be able to clear some of this out. So I played until the end of the transfer window to show you guys where we're at. We played 2 Liga 3 games, won both without conceding. 1-0 here, 1 goal to Pedro, and 2-0 here, 2 goals to 2 goals to Sergio Santos here, which puts us on a good start. Friendly wise, we played the first 3 against no name clubs, but we played 2 games against 2 top league teams and did decent in both of them, so that gives us some encouragement moving forward. Played a couple of teams in Liga 3 and had good results against them. You can see we drew in a friendly and then beat them the next week. So yeah, I'm really excited about this season to see where we can go, and yeah, I guess I'll stop here, play the season out, and then you'll see me very shortly. So thanks. Hey, and welcome back to Gondomar S.C. Another season, another promotion. Really happy with that. If I just bring it up here, finished top of our group in the North stage, almost undefeated in the group stage with 1-2-1 loss, and then into the promotion stage. Again, really good year. A bit more dicey than our last promotion campaign in the group where we won 5, lost 1. Won 3, drew twice, and then lost once. You can see we actually didn't get, we only got 1 point out of our 2 games with Alverca, but we did enough against the other 2 teams, Trofense and Forense, to get out of this group as champions. And then we played the Champions Playoff and again lost to Liera with lost 2-1, had a missed penalty. Is that a missed penalty? No, disallowed goal. So yeah, lost 2-1. Don't really mind too much. It's just a piece of silverware. It doesn't really affect us at all. Looking at the average rating at goal charts, you can see João Victor with 30 goals. We'll go through the stats in a minute, but we had a lot of players affecting the team really well in key areas with average rating, player of the match, etc. So we were one of the best teams in the league. Not surprising to us. So if I want to go through the form chart here, yeah, phenomenal year. Almost like a full starting 11 with average ratings above 7. Key player all year did the job. João Victor, 32 goals in the season for us, 30 in the league, 2 in the cup. Finished off the year a bit flat, as you can see, but again, when you're scoring 30 goals in the year, 30 goals in the season, you can take a month off at the end if you want. Yeah, XG 18 goals 30. So the stats suggest he got a little bit lucky, but you make your own luck there. Other key players, Pedro, our 2 youth prospects Pedro and Paulo. Um, Pedro is coming along leaps and bounds. If we look at his progress since the start of the season, 2.5 star there, all the way up to 4.5 star for us. This guy looks like a real weapon in the defensive midfield role. He's playing as that again. He's playing as that deep lying playmaker for us. 10 assists, which is really good from that deep lying role, and just an incredible rating. High passes completed, and tackles won. So that's like really impressive for this grade. So again, big ups to him. Paulo Queiroz, another really key player for us. Again, sort of like a one-trick pony. He just gets the ball, dribbles and passes. He can't cross or finish, but again, we don't really mind. He's a really progressive player for us. Helps us get up the pitch. Doesn't really impact us with goals or assists, but you can see he had a pretty good year, albeit not playing all that much football. But when he did come in, he was playing really well. A defensive pairing, Dennis and Zhao. Yeah, incredible. Kuka, our big money signing at the start of the year, played most of the season for us. Again, high passes, high tackles won in that halfback role. If we look at the transfers that we made mid-season, we didn't actually have much action. I expected that we would sign a few more players to improve the team. We couldn't find all that much talent. We signed a player, Pedro Santos, as right wing cover, as we didn't have that many quality options there. We had a lot of numbers, but not a lot of quality. Again, he is not that much quality, but I think he's better than his stats suggest. He's going to end up being a bit of a more depth role in our B team, but he looks like someone he can bring in if we're having any injuries or we need some cover. Agdon, another player that looks really good. I think he's almost on par with João Victor in terms of stats. I mean, he's better in some areas and worse in others, but he just can't seem to do anything on the pitch. I mean, we gave him 4 starts and 12 appearances off the bench, and got 1 goal for it. I mean, he looks really good. He just isn't able to affect the play that much. We've got him on 60k a year. Oh, I keep mucking around. 60k a year for what is now a two season deal. Hopefully he can do better for us next year. Otherwise he'll find himself out the door. And the last signing we made, 12k signing for a striker, Edu Agilio. Hopefully I said that right. Looks like he's a prospect for us. We bought him from Lusitania La Rosa. Looks like a good player, but yeah, he'll just sit now under 19s in our B team until he's developed enough to make an impact. Transfers out. Forgot to go over this one in the preview. Our key player for us last season, Wato Kuate, a bid for like 7k came in for him, and he cracked the shits when I wouldn't sell him, so had to accept it. Apart from that, all just loans out. Apart from this guy, Leandro Silva, wasn't getting enough games for us, so we just sold him on a free. Transfers in or out. Sorry, nothing really of note that's happening. We do have a very substantial payroll moving into the next season, so in the next season's preview, you'll see probably I've made 10 signings or something, because we'll need numbers and quality to be competitive in Liga 2. This was a player, Chinese regen, that came through our youth system, and I signed him after he left because I thought he might be an interesting player to keep, but he'd already left the club, so he's now going to sign in two years. So this is a bit of a mistake by me. So he'll just sit there for 2 years in that pending transfer role. So what's going on next season? If I go up to Liga Portugal, this is more of a straightforward league. Play 34 games. If you're at the bottom or second bottom, you go down. If you are in the top 2 slots that aren't a B team, you go up, and there's some playoffs. So no more of this relegation group, promotion group stuff. Straight 34 game league. And to give you an idea about the quality of the players, if I can find one which I've scouted, might be very difficult, but you can see by the player values, wow, we're going to have to do a lot to compete in this league. This squad is probably not good enough to compete in the top half. If we didn't make any signings, I reckon we could definitely stay up. But with $1 million in the payroll to spend, I can't help myself. I'm going to have to make improvements to this team. We do have interest in our two key youngsters, which is a shame. A lot of teams from the top league and the second league are interested in transferring him. He doesn't have a release clause in his contract. However, his contract's up in 2 years, so I don't really have any pressure to sell him. The only issue is going to be with us in $1 million in debt. If a really high bid comes in, we might not be able to stop the board from saying yes. The same goes for Paulo Queiroz. Same deal. Portuguese clubs love him. He's got a pretty decent value for this league, but he's definitely worth more than that. Same with Pedro. So the only issue is going to be if a bid comes in, will the board say yes? Joel Pereira, with this really low minimum fee release clause, is going to be hard to keep a hold of. He had a pretty decent year for us, 24 appearances, 23 goals, but he's like 18k for a player that could do a job for a lot of other leagues in Europe. So we're going to find it hard to keep a hold of him. And Angelo Oliveira, struggled in League 3 struggled to make the adjustments for League 3, and we're going to let him go at the end of the season. Apart from that, we've had a really good year. I'll take a look at the intake and how our B team is going. So our B team the season's still going, so they have a shot at promotion, but they're 7 points back with 3 to play, so it's looking unlikely. Paulo Queiroz, 18 goals for Gondomar B, so that's why we moved him up and gave him a bit more of a prominent role in the second half of the season for us in our first team. He's an absolute beast at this level, and since we took him out, the team has, I guess, plateaued. So hopefully they can make a promotion push next year, but it's not looking good for this year. Our youth intake, if I look at the youth candidates, not a great intake for us. These were the 3 players that we signed from it, because we've already got quite a large under 19 B's team. Striker, decent mentals in some key areas, and really good physicals, but he's not very strong, but he's 15. So there's a lot of room for growth for him. Marcelo, defensive midfielder. Not much to say. Wang Yao, the guy that we made a mistake on, wanted to sign him, didn't. Signed him after he left. Now he joins in 2 years. Apart from that, not much else to go through. Had a really good year. Met all our goals. One thing to note. We had an election and the existing president was ousted, so we've no longer got that signed Chinese players board culture, but we still are having Chinese players come through the ranks. So it wasn't just a board connection that was forcing those Chinese players to come through the intake. So I'm looking forward to that continuing, because that's quite interesting. But you can see that the culture's changed quite a bit. We're now being asked to play defensively solid and counter-attacking from the board and the supporters, and that's not how I tend to play. So this is going to be a bit of a struggle to complete. But as long as we're winning games and moving up through the leagues, they shouldn't care. So my contract expires, so there's no 5-year plan. They don't know what to do without us. Anyway, I'll end the video here. Thanks for tuning in. Leave a comment or a like if you're so inclined. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.